Today on the bench, I want to tie you up the Bow River Bugger. We've been using this pattern for the past 20 years, and it's really effective for both rainbow and brown trout. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we'll use a size 2 4x long streamer, some 3/0 black thread to tie with, some burnt orange marabou for the tail, some pink polar flash as the tail highlights, some olive ice chenille for the body, some golden olive grizzly saddle hackle for the hackle, some medium copper wire for the rib, some burnt orange deer hair for the collar, and burnt orange deer hair for the head. So the first step to the fly, as always, is tying your thread. Sometimes I'll actually weight the fly. I'll take some .03 or some .035 lead substitute to give some weight, but this time I'm not. So I'm going to start off with my tail. And I'm gonna make it about the length again of the hook, so you want it quite long. So go right back and then tie it right in at the back of the hook. Now the tail is tied in, I've taken 3 strands of my polar flash, and I want them to come down each side of the hook. So I'm gonna lay them down on the hook and just rub my thread back over, just so they're on equal sides of the tail, and then cut them about the length of the tail. Now the tail's all finished, I'm going to take a hackle, and again I'm going to tie it in by the tip because it's always shorter near the tip, and then I want it to advance and get a little bigger along the body. So let's tie a hackle in by the tip, and this will be ribbing up the body after. Next we're going to take some of our medium copper wire, and we'll also tie this in, and this will be used to rib up the body a little bit later. Make sure it's secured well. Now we're going to tie in our material for our body, so I've taken a strand of our ice chenille, and I'm going to start it kind of about halfway up the hook. Just start building up a bit of a body. Tie it right back to the hook bend, and then bring your thread back where we're going to start the head. And I like to go about 2/3 of the way back up the hook, and then I'll start wrapping in my body. So leave lots of room at the head for your deer hair. Now that the body's all tied in and we've stopped it about 2/3 up the hook, I'm going to take my hackle and take about 4 or 5 wraps up just to hackle the body, and then tie off. Now that the body and the hackle are tied in, we're going to secure the hackle down and at the same time form a rib. So I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to actually pull it towards me, and just make sure you don't take down too many hackles, and just work your way up and rib the body. And tie off right at the end of the body and the hackle. Now we're going to start building the collar and the head. I've stacked some deer hair, so the first one I'm going to stack because I want the collar to show up nice and even. So I've stacked my deer hair in my stacker. I'm going to measure it back just slightly, just form a small collar on the fly. And what I'm going to do is take a couple of light wraps around the deer hair and then allow it to spin around my hook. Just like that. And that'll start spinning up the deer hair. Now all we're going to do is create a spun deer hair head. So I'm going to continue to take some deer hair and again lay it on the hook. Take a couple light wraps around and then allow it to spin right around the hook and tighten up and keep creating the spun deer hair head. And keep pushing back that material. Pulling the thread in front and continue stacking until the head's formed. We're now down to about the 4th clump of deer hair that I'm stacking in, and this should finish it up. So again, you just lay it on that hook, a couple easy wraps, allow it to spin, and then wrap it in good with your thread. And push all that material back and whip finish off in front. So I'm going to just tie off in front. Take a few wraps in front of all that deer hair, and then I'm going to whip finish off. And then we'll cut the deer hair to shape once we're tied off. Now that you have the head tied in and I've whip finished off, I'm actually just going to cut off my thread. And what I'm going to do is an easy way to trim. A lot of people will trim using scissors, but I really like the razor blades. Essentially, this is a safety razor blade. Works really well. You got 2 sharp ends, and you can bend it, you can manipulate it to shape. So I'm going to pull this out of the pack and we'll start shaping the head. And to do this right, I'm going to have to take it out of the vise and trim it over my bucket. I don't want to make too much of a mess. So there it is, the finished Bow River Bugger. You know, we use this pattern for numerous years on the Bow River, catching very large rainbows and brown trout. So if you're going after big fish, this is a must-have pattern. To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise, head to www.sfotf.ca. And if you would like to book an adventure like this one showing, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.